There are a few steps to reach the correct preparation of general solutions. Familiarize with the reactant. Check all the protocol that you will use. In some solutions, you have to adjust the pH. Choose the best option for sterilization. Use the MSAID word to prepare general solutions. Label that must be included name and percentage of the solution, the name of the owner, and the date. It's important to mention that when prepare a solution using reactive powder, you have to put some water before you add this reactive. So, in this way, you will not have an accumulation of powder in the bottom and will be easier to dissolve. By the other hand, there are some methods to sterilize. Some of them are mud heat, it's from some solution and culture medium, using ethanol at 70% for work surface and instrumentation, ultraviolet light for specific surface and material, and flaming the instrument. To verify that a solution was good prepared, you have to observe if there are some physical changes, like the reactive is accumulated. Solution must be homogeneous and with the correct content. If you prepare a solution wrong, using another concentration, the result you will achieve can be the one that you are expecting, or the reactives can react different and maybe can be dangerous for the person in the lab.
In this practice, we made solutions with different reactants. We made 3 solutions. You have to use equations, so in this way, you can measure the exact volumes or weights to reach the specific concentration that is required. For the first solution, it requires 70 milliliters of glycerol at 10%, so it means that if we have a total volume of 100 milliliters, you need 10 milliliters of glycerol. So, if we need 70 milliliters, you have to make 70 times 10 divided by 100. So, you have to measure 7 milliliters of glycerol. For the second solution, it requires 20 milliliters of SDS at 10%. You have to solve 20 times 10 divided by 100, so you have to measure 2 grams of SDS. For the last solution, it required 30 milliliters of ethanol at 70%, so you have to measure 21 milliliters of ethanol. The methodology we followed to prepare the solution of glycerol at 10% was to measure 7 milliliters of glycerol. It's a high-density liquid, so we put the glycerol into a beaker. In this way, it's easier to transfer the liquid to the Erlenmeyer flask. You need to put a little bit of distilled water into the flask, so in this way you can dissolve the glycerol easier. Finally, you have to add more water until you reach the volume needed, in this case 70 milliliters. Then, you have to close perfectly the Erlenmeyer flask with a top made of cotton and craft paper. Finally, you have to take it into the autoclave for sterilization.
The methodology we followed for having 30 milliliters of ethanol at 70% was: in a container, we measured 21 milliliters of pure ethanol, then we add 9 milliliters of distilled water. We close this container and we mix it for having an homogeneous mixture. Finally, we labeled the container and gave it to the professor.
In order to prepare 20 milliliters of SDS at 10%, 2 grams of SDS were weighed. Then, in a Falcon tub, distilled water and SDS were mixed carefully. This step was important because SDS is a detergent, so we do not want to make bubbles. It is important to know different ways to calculate concentrations in order to prepare a solution. This is because not all the solutions are prepared in the same way, as the reagents have different characteristics. Molarity and normality are more used in the calculations because it is possible to measure low concentrations and they are more common. When the solutions are too dilute, then is used other way to express concentrations, for example, parts per million.
Some of the points we needed to consider for making the mixtures were having the correct compounds, checking molecular weights, having the correct calculations, having the necessary material, making sure the material was clean, knowing which instruments we're going to use in order of the sample we're going to take, using the pipettes correctly, following the instructions of preparation labeled in the original container, using gloves and masks when necessary, and also we needed to label each of the solutions made in order to know what is in the container and also when they were made.
In conclusion, we can say that it's very important to prepare a solution correctly. Sign the equation we made to the knowledge of each reactant we use include the preparation method, because in some cases the solution needs a specific pH or be sterilized. You have to consider some aspects in the process of preparation of this solution, like the use of gloves and masks when it's necessary, and also clean or sterilized material.